Hi everybody, it's Pat Gillis here, and every now and again we have to use a hay net in the barn. I thought maybe I'd go through how we use them when we use them. There's a couple of reasons I would use a hay net. Like sometimes on occasion we've had a horse that maybe is a little bit sore in his front feet for some reason. Maybe he's had an abscess or something like that. And so that rather than the horse spending a lot of time sort of leaning forward and putting his head down to eat, we might give the horse a hay net just so that he can, for a couple of days, right? So he can kind of take a little bit of the weight off his front feet. The other reason sometimes is we had a little pony once that was on stall rest, and he was getting really fat because he ate all the time. And so we used a different kind of hay net for that. So I'm going to show you the difference between these two. So let's do that now. Okay, so I kind of came in here to show you this one because I think it's a little easier to tell on the table. But you can see with this hay net, the squares are quite large. And so the horse, you know, he's going to be able to pull the hay out from large squares like that. One of the things that you really want to make sure of when you have hay, if you're buying a hay net, is make sure that the part that you hang up on the wall is a different color than this part. Some of them, you know, they look very fancy. They're all the same color, but my gosh, it could be a devil of a thing to find this string when you're trying to get the hay net in. The type that we would use for our pony that was a little bit too fat and eating too much is this one here. So if you'll notice, this one, those squares are tiny. These are called a slow feed or something. The pony has to do a little bit of work to get this out of the hay net. They're awfully hard to get the hay into, I'll tell you. But it's worth it if you're trying to slow them down a little bit because they really have to work at getting little bits of hay out. You know, we had this one little pony and he had to be on stall rest for, I guess it was probably a month or so. And oh my gosh, he was turning into a little, you know, it's a little caboose. He was huge, right? So we ended up giving him this hay net just to slow him down, and it kind of works, right? I felt badly for him, but it did give him something to do all afternoon. Okay, so now the fun part is we're going to show you how you put the hay in the hay net and hang it up. So we'll do that now. So one of the things about a hay net is that they can end up being kind of dangerous. I'm going to show you what I mean. So if you put a hay net up like this, I know this is empty right now, but I just want to show you. Some people will tie the hay net up this way, and then they'll just sort of tie it around this way or something, you know, and just tie it from here to here. If you look now, you're going to see that this hay net is actually a good 2 or 3 inches below that piece of tape. You know, it's hanging this low right now. That's an important thing to remember because eventually the horse is going to finish eating all the hay. So I'll show you in a minute how high it sits when it's full, but it will get empty eventually. And now you've got it this low, and it's really dangerous. The horse could now at this point get his foot caught in that. Okay, so I'm going to show you the way we hang up a hay net when it's full. Okay, so remember I was saying about having that be a different color. This is when you're going to really appreciate that. Okay, so what I do first is you want to sort of open the hay net up as best you can. So you open the mouth of it up. So I mean, it's really tough, right, to even figure out where you're at with these darn things. I'm all twisted up here. But if you can figure it out before you start, you're going to be a lot happier. There we go. Okay. So then I would kind of put my feet inside it a little bit so I've opened it up as much as I can. And then you just grab some hay and put it in there. So we'll take it right off this convenient location. And we'll put it in here. And then you just sort of pull the strings around it. Yank it up. It's hard to do it neatly, right? You'll always end up making a bit of a mess. Okay. Again, I can't tell you how much harder that is. If this white string was blue, it's really tough to figure out where the heck you're at. It's hard enough now. Okay. So there we go. So now we have our hay net full. What you'll find, there's going to always be a knot. I'll show you where it is here. So there's your knot. I always try to make sure the knot is down here next to the bottom, right? So that I've just got nice clean string here with no knots in it so that when I go to tie it up it doesn't get all snagged. So now I'm going to show you how we hang it up. Okay, so now we've got the hay net full. I have to stand on something to do this. If you're a little taller you don't have to. Okay, so we can climb up here and I'm going to put this string again through that eye that's hanging here. This is where it's nice that you don't have a knot here and you don't want to get all tangled up, right? So now you can just sort of haul it up, pull it up. And as I said, this is where people might be tempted to just sort of tie it off here. Because that's pretty high off the ground, right? Your horse isn't going to get his foot caught in that. It looks pretty safe. But remember what it looked like when it was empty. It was hanging down really low to the point where the horse could step in it. So what we do instead is right now, all I've done is go through there, okay? So I pull it right up so that the rings of the hay net are right up against this ring. I pull it up, and then I come all the way down here, and I'm going to search around for near the bottom of the hay net, and I'm going to loop this through, okay? And then I'm going to go like this, and like this. And I'm going to do a quick release knot here, pull it through, pull it down, turn it around. And there we have the hay net. Now, one of the reasons we don't like hay nets for our horses is because when a horse is eating off the ground, his muscles are all developing the way we would want a horse's muscles to develop. Like his head down, back up, everything is going the right way. When you have a horse that's eating from a hay net, if you make it too high, the horse ends up standing with a hollow back with his head up like this. Not only is it a problem in that he can get the hay in his eye, if he's like, you know, if I'm the horse being short and I'm looking up this way to eat all the time, the horse is going to get, like, the muscle development is going to be upside down. He has a risk of getting things into his eye. So we're trying to get it. If this was a pony, I would have it lower, but this is a regular sized horse. He'll be able to, you know, his head would be about here. He can get that without having to stand this way to try to get at the hay. Does that make sense to you? Like, it's just, you want to have it up high. Now, if you've never done a quick release knot, I should probably show you that a little bit slower. All right, so quick release knot, it's a really handy thing to know for whenever you're doing stuff with horses. So we've got this piece here, we've got this piece over here. I would just, so it's kind of making right now like there's a sort of a circle there, or I mean a gap, I guess I'd say. So I put this piece in the gap, and then I pull down. So that way, if I needed to, you know, quick release knot with horses is a handy thing. I only would have to grab one thing, and I can yank everything down. You know, you want to have, you never want to tie knots with horses, you know, that you can't get undone. So I'll just show you one more time in case that makes it clear. So we're pulling the hay net up as high as we can, and then we're pulling this up as high as we can. And then we make a quick release knot, so we pull this piece over, we pull this through the gap, and then we pull down, and then I always turn the knot part towards the back. So now the horse has free access to the hay. Again, if you don't have to use a hay net, I think it's better. But they are handy. I guess it was handy for our little Porky pony when he was in all the time to have that slow feeder for him. And every now and again we'll have horses that just do have a little bit of problems in the front feet. So until they're feeling a little bit better, for a few days we'll give them a hay net. But I don't like to use them all the time because I do find it's A, they're a lot of work. B, you really want to make sure they don't get caught up in it, like get their feet caught in it. You want to make sure it's securely up there so it doesn't end up down and in the stall and they're getting all tangled up in it. And I just don't like how a horse ends up standing when he's eating off a hay net, especially if you make them too high. Anyway, that's it for this week. If you're watching this anywhere besides on our blog, go over the scroll and let me know, do you guys ever use hay nets with your horses? Or do you have a better way of hanging them up than this? Let me know. And in the meantime, stay warm. Remember to thank your horse, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.